Buggy's getting some Seraphim. So this is going to be a companion video to a video I posted about Blackbeard possibly getting some Seraphim and York in a previous video. So go check that out. But yeah, Buggy is getting some Seraphim. How did I come to this conclusion? Well, one thing I missed and I've heard no one talk about is that during chapter 1086, right, there's this little segment in which it says, deploy the Seraphim. Crocodile was spotted on Empty Bluff Island. That means that the Marines are taking their forces to Empty Bluff Island. The Seraphim that they are taking with them are presumably, because there are no confirmed names yet, we have S Flamingo, S Gecko, or S Bat, the copy of Moria, and then S Croc, right? Okay, so here's the interesting thing about two of these Seraphim, right? If they are like their warlord counterparts, they have cutting and slicing attacks. That's all they specialize in. Buggy is completely immune to those. If S Flamingo tries to set up a bird cage, not going to affect Buggy. If S Gecko sticks his doppelman on Buggy and uses Brickbat, well, we know from the Impel Down anime, which I hate using that as a rule of thumb or a point of context, but it helps. There was a weird hippo in Impel Down, and Buggy was shown to be immune to biting attacks from that hippo, if I recall correctly. So we know that Buggy is immune to biting. And then the only other attack that Moria would have at his ready would be the weird gecko spear that he does against Little Oris Jr. back in Marineford, and that is a spear. A spear is a piercing attack, wouldn't affect Buggy. Now, what I think may be going on when they invade Empty Bluff Island is that it could be raining. Okay, so if it's raining on Empty Bluff Island, that means Crocodile is out of commission. What might happen is something to do with S Crocodile. Now, in the past, I have said that I thought S Crocodile would have the Rust fruit because it's a very similar ability to Crocodile's fruit already. And we know from Vegapunk that Logia fruits cannot be copied. So with that being said, S Crocodile has to have something else. And I've kind of steered away from the Rust fruit. I do like the dichotomy of Crocodile being able to dehydrate everything but metal, and then with S Crocodile with the rust fruit, he would be able to rust only metal. I think that's a cool dichotomy, but I don't think that's going to be the fruit S Crocodile has. I think S Crocodile is going to have the hormone fruit, because you know what's so interesting about chapter 1086? You know who else appears in this chapter? Ivankov, which I can't recall, but I want to say every time that Crocodile is in a chapter, Ivankov is in a chapter. This is the first time that Ivankov is in a chapter with somebody who is Crocodile-like, but not Crocodile. So I find that very interesting. If I find an example, I'm going to put it up on screen, because I swear that's happened a few times. Post Impel Down, of course. But yeah, I think he has the hormone fruit, because Ivankov wasn't always in level 5.5. He had to be a regular prisoner at some point. So the government has the lineage factor on the hormone fruit. The funny thing about the hormone fruit is that the way that it is injected into opponents is by finger needles, which of course Buggy will be immune to. But what's interesting about that is this is also a kind of a nice parallel for Crocodile's skills, because Crocodile does attack with blades a lot of the time. Like his sand takes the shape of blades in a few attacks. And then two, during the final confrontation against Luffy, he used his hook, a poison hook, and a dagger. So not only is he accomplished with bladed weapons, he is accomplished with liquid weaponry, because he had a hook that was coated in poison. So this, in a weird way, fits Crocodile's moveset, which is a very strange thing to think about, but it's very possible. And then two, S Crocodile could provide support to his fellow Seraphim, because he can do all the energy boosting hormones and strength boosting hormones, or whatever that was that Ivankov did on Luffy back during Impel Down and then Marineford. S Croc could do that on S Gecko and S Flamingo, which is really cool support. But yeah, but the reason why I think that it's important that it's raining during this attack is because it would be a tactical advantage, a cool sort of inverse of what Blackbeard does on Amazon Lily. and it leaves Crocodile vulnerable. So I think it'll be possible that during this, Crocodile would be forced to fight in the rain. He'll be caught off guard, and that's where S Crocodile gets him. Because we haven't had too many situations in which a Seraphim has met the original. S Snake has not technically met Boa Hancock. S Shark has been in the same vicinity as Jinbei, but has never met with Jinbei. So that could be saved for this moment here. But ultimately, the Marines lose. We get Crocomom, or Fem Crocodile. I'm not saying the crocodile is Luffy's mother. We're not going down that path. But I do think he was originally a female. So we get Fem Croc. And then we have another notch possibly. Don't know how it will turn out. But we have another notch on Buggy's belt for his subordinates and possibly to his new lackeys, Crocodile and Mihawk, in that all the sort of primary weapons that the Marines brought were ineffective against Buggy because, again, the string fruit's primary function is cutting or latching, piercing, right? Because it pierces into the flesh of the opponent in order to perform parasite. That's what Doflamingo does. You can't pierce somebody who can't be cut. So parasite wouldn't work. Birdcage wouldn't work. Most, if not all, of Doflamingo's techniques wouldn't work on Buggy. Then Moria, again, brickbat, biting bats, Buggy can't be bit. The big gecko sphere, Buggy can't be pierced. The only thing S Gecko would be able to do is trap Buggy in a black box, which that was a desperation move that Moria did in Shadow Asgard, so I'm not even sure S Gecko would commit to that. And then two, since Buggy can't be cut, his shadow probably can't be cut. So that's another very interesting thing to think about. And then we have S Croc with the hormone fruit. The hormone fruit distributes its hormones through finger needles. Again, Buggy can't be pierced. So he is the primary advantage in this confrontation. I think maybe not Mihawk. I don't think Mihawk is going to be on the back foot at all, but the things that Buggy does in this confrontation will prove his worth to Mihawk, and that will endear Mihawk to him. And then perhaps throughout the entire exchange, Crocodile would just be traumatized the whole way after being changed back. And then after Marines lose, they hightail it out of there. I think one of them, due to Buggy's constantly failing up, one of them will drop the control chip for the Seraphim, and then now Buggy has control of his own Doflamingo, his own Moria, and his own copy of Crocodile. And I think it'll just be a blunder. The Marines will be so overwhelmed, they'll go like, oops, and they'll just drop the control chip, and then that's how Buggy gets his hands on it. Or some lower member of Cross Guild will pick it up, like Alvida or Mr. 3 or something like that, or Kabaji or Richie. Don't know. But I think that's what's going to happen. And then Buggy would now have a bit more manpower under his belt, which would oddly also fit Crocodile's ambitions, because Crocodile did want influence and power in order to build a utopia, and having some of the Marines' new toys under his control would definitely suit those means. It would also leverage his, or possibly her, influence to their fellow underground brokers to invest more in them, because now they have the manpower to make more things happen and to pressure the world government in some way. Meanwhile, on Egghead, like I said in the other video, Blackbeard will be doing the same thing, but he'll have the up on Cross Guild because he'll probably be getting 4 instead of 3. I find this extremely fascinating to think about. It's going to be kind of interesting too to see how the Seraphim react to Buggy, because I think he might start doing a bit in which he kind of enraptures the children's wonderment with his constant antics, and they just follow him based out of loyalty after a point, because first of all, they're children like clowns, right? And it's been shown through Egghead that it's not all based on the control chip. The Seraphim do have personalities, and with Doflamingo and Moria, they seem to be a very lively bunch already, so they may be very entertained by Uncle Buggy's clownish antics, and that will endure them to his side even more. So for those of you who want a Doflamingo on Cross Guild, this may be how we get it, honestly, which is a very weird thought. Now, as an added bonus, it'd be interesting too that if Perona at the same time comes to Empty Bluff Island with the actual Moria in tow. So then you have two warlords interacting with two copies of themselves, plus a disciplinarian in Perona, because if they get out of line, she can just make them depressed with her ghosts, which is also a very funny thing to think about. These terrible, terrible weapons can be treated like children because they're all children, and can be reprimanded by making them depressed, which is a very funny way to parent a weapon. But I've been going on long enough. Give me your thoughts.